Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's so great to see you today. It's the morning for some of you. It's the evening for others. It's the afternoon. So bonsoir, guten Abend, good morning, good day to you. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your day today. And many of you bringing us to your homes. Welcome to my home. You're in my house. This is Strada's headquarters in Los Angeles, California. It's a sunny day. It's like 72 degrees, which is like 21 C. It's really lovely here. And again, thank you for letting us be a part of your day today. We have some exciting things to show you, some exciting things to talk about. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. My name is Michael, and I am just thrilled to share what we've been doing for the last 6 months. You know, if we start with like what Strada is, one important thing is Strada is a tech company. You probably guessed that. You probably know that. But there's something different about us. See, Strada is a creative first tech company. What that means is that we're not just building technology for creative people. We're building it with creative people. Many of you are part of the creation of this process. Many of you work for us. Many of our employees are creatives by their job descriptions. And many of our best friends are people that are trying out Strada, using Strada, and trying to push its boundaries. So we really focus on the creative, and that's the paramount anchor of what this business is trying to do, serve the creative industries. But there's this stuff in the air about AI, and there's a lot of AI that we're doing inside of Strada. But the truth is, there's kind of these two categories. Gen AI, we all know about Gen AI, right? And I use it a little bit too. It's great. There's a lot there. But the fact of the matter is, I think Gen AI is overhyped. There's purposes for it. And again, I'm a user. But really what the AI that I think is going to serve the creative community better is utility. What I mean by that, it's AI that can actually accelerate your workflow, automate your workflow, make things a little bit better quality, and speed up the process so you can get from the logistical parts to the creative parts faster. That's ultimately what we're after. Sure, Gen AI has a lot of opportunities and application, but when I use Gen AI, it's as a little component. And what I'm really trying to build is something for people that work in real life. If you shoot video or film in real life, still photography in real life, audio mixing, podcasting, music in real life, the Strada technology we're building is not for the Gen AI space. It's for the people that make and create things in the real world. And that's what we're focusing on. In order to build that, we need to assemble a team. And I am unbelievably privileged to have an amazing team of people to work with. I love building teams. It's my favorite part of the job. And I think as a leader, your job is always to be building teams and recruiting people to kind of create something new. I'm so thankful for the team we put together. There's 10 of us so far, plus a bunch of freelancers working full-time. And in 6 months, this team is working every single day, right in this room, 7 days a week often. And we're doing this every single day. We put in more than 12 to 15,000 hours of work into this business so far, 500,000 lines of code. The foundational code base of Strada is incredible. I can't wait to show it to you. So this team is an incredible group of people. We also shoot freelancers like Amritha and Chuck and Shannon and people coming in that are shooting with us all the time. I'm just so thankful for the team that we've built, and we're going to be growing. We have more spots if you're interested. We'll talk about it at the end. But I do want to say really quickly, thank you to my team. For those of you that are in the room, for those of you that are watching that have been part of this thing, I'm just really privileged that you've taken a risk on me and my brother and this idea. And I just want to say thank you to those of you that are working at Strada. We couldn't do this without you. It's amazing. So I'm privileged to do that. So now that we get into the next section, I want to kind of level set with what Strada aims to do. There are 3 main things Strada aims to do. First, we aim to solve universal workflow problems. You know, I started working in post-production. I was 18 years old. I was just out of high school, and I worked at a PBS station, WSIU, in Carbondale, Illinois. And there I got hired to work in post-production, which I didn't really know what that was. And I got hooked on the way that puzzles can get solved through great post-production minds. And it just got me so excited about making the production process and taking that work that was done on set and moving it through the pipeline. And I started building post-production houses and inventing technologies and techniques that allow people to make their workflow even better. And that's ultimately what's happening at Strada. And the truth is, I believe that the combination of AI and the cloud together is going to unlock an entirely new world, the best opportunity that we've ever had for work to actually flow. So solving universal problems is what we aim to do by combining AI and the cloud together. That means you have to get your footage to the cloud, and we know that's hard, but we think once you're in the cloud, you're going to have the most incredible experience. The next thing that we aim to do is build in public. What that means is we want to be really transparent. It's super important to me to build brands that people trust. And part of that trust is in transparency and vulnerability. I used to get criticized from a lot of employees. They used to say, you're giving away the secret sauce, Michael. And our competitors in the post-production space say, oh, we got to hide our secret sauce. I never liked that. I never bought into that crap. I really like to be transparent and share what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it in the first place, because I think that builds trust. In the world of AI, we need businesses that are transparent with the technology that they're doing and how it impacts the creative space. And so it's imperative for us to be able to show you what we're doing. That's why we ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our social media. We tell you what we're doing. If you're an entrepreneur, there is some great stuff in our YouTube channel that will help entrepreneurs. If you're a manager, I don't get it right all the time, but a lot of my managerial and team building experiences I talk about, and I provide some of that feedback. So there's stuff there. If you're going to do a startup, this is a great way to learn about how to build a startup. And if you're a creator and you're making content, the stuff that we're starting to do on the channel is amazing. So for those of you that have been watching YouTube, thank you. We appreciate you joining us and showing up and watching our shows. But if you haven't, you're missing out. It's different than what you think. And I know you're all busy. You're too busy to watch more of me yakking, but I'm telling you, you'll get something out of it. Plus the stuff that's in this YouTube channel, some of it is 2 years ahead. For people that know me, I know I'm early. They're like, Michael, this tech is so early. I know that. It's all about being early on purpose so that we can be prepared, so that we can know where the puck is going to be. Luck favors the prepared. Thomas Jefferson said, I'm a big believer in luck. The harder I work, the more of it I have. And so I really believe in that as well. So we want to invite you to come and be a part of our Build in Public story. And lastly, what we aim to do is be a bridge to the cloud. I mentioned a moment ago that we know that it's really hard to get things to the cloud. It only works if you have a very strong internet connection. Or does it? Are there ways that we can build that bridge? Are there solutions that we can come up with? Well, that's what we're also working on. We know that over time, over the next 6 or 7 years, eventually everything's going to be exclusive in the cloud. Today, you're using the cloud right now. You use the cloud in some capacity in all your workflows. But the truth is, you're uploading and downloading and you're moving clips up and down, and things are not always working in the cloud exclusively, but that's going to change. So we're super excited to bring you solutions, and we're going to be that bridge to the cloud. I believe over the next 6 or 7 years, eventually you're going to work exclusively in the cloud, and we want Strada to be the brand that brings you there. Now we're going to move on and talk a little about what's going to happen this morning. Again, we're in my house, so we're going to take a little trip over here. And in order to talk a little bit more about what the next steps are in the webinar and what we're going to do, I want to introduce my co-founder and brother, Peter. Take it away.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Peter. I'm Michael's brother. I'm also a co-founder here of Strada. We have a great group of you joining us today. There's over 200 of you listening to this webinar. We have content creators, cinematographers, directors, producers, production companies, software developers. My mom's here. Hi, Mom. Hi, Aunt Missy. So great to have you join us. So thank you. And this is going to be a really fun day today. So I get to do the housekeeping side of today's seminar. So first, the chat is open. Please make use of that chat. This is our first chance to interact with you more directly. We want to be able to answer your questions. So please make use of that chat, and we'll do our best to answer either in real time or answer through a Q&A process throughout today's presentation. Second, want to stress that this product is dripping wet new, fresh out of the oven, whatever metaphor you want to use. We've been showing wireframes and diagrams in the past, but this is the first time we're actually showing the product to an audience. So we're really jazzed to show you that today. Third, we're going to talk a little bit later about our private beta. So we've mentioned in the past, we're launching a private beta in January of 2024. We're looking for users. So we'll talk later on about how you can apply to be a part of that private beta program. In addition, we had great reception. We're so glad that you're here, but we know some of your friends and colleagues may not have been able to join today's webinar. So don't worry, we have recorded it. We are recording it. You know my brother. We will bring it through the post process and we will launch that on our YouTube. So stay tuned for that. Some of you have watched our YouTube series. We're really appreciative of that. And throughout the last 4 or 5 months, we've talked a lot about why we built Strada. I'm hoping there's some people on this webinar today who have never heard of us and are just learning about us for the first time and learning about Michael and me. So I wanted to just briefly talk about why Strada, why we are here. And that starts with a problem. 6 months ago, Michael and I left our previous jobs. We sat at the table to my right and said, we got to come up with a problem. And what are we seeing in the landscape? There's so much new technology out there. There's technology on the acquisition side. There's technology on the distribution side. There's all these new tools in picture post, audio post, all over the place. And all these technologies should be liberating. They should be exciting. They should make life easier, but there's almost like sensory overload. This is the observation that we have. There's so many tools at everyone's disposal, but it's almost making it more complex, even though these tools should be used to make life easier. Someone said to me yesterday, analysis paralysis. So many options at your disposal. Is it actually making the content creation process easier? And so that's really the problem that we're witnessing, is that a lot of these tools is making it more complex as opposed to having it be a liberating experience. And so the solution here is Strada. Strada is a new cloud platform that accelerates, simplifies, and enhances tasks to make storytelling easier. Well, how do we do that? So we've talked a little bit on our YouTube series about the bigger product roadmap of Strada, but today we're really focusing on the media acceleration side of things. For those who know their Italian language, Strada means street in Italian, and we thought of the word street because workflows are like a road, and some are straight, some go in curly cues, and so what we want to make sure is we streamline that road and use media acceleration to get media from its source to the destination as quickly, as straight, and as fast as possible. So that's really what we're going to focus on today. We talked a lot about the 5 T's in our YouTube series, so that's really what we're focusing on today. But our product roadmap is exciting. We have a multi-year roadmap, and so some of you might have heard about our workflow builder and our AI marketplace. Those are really exciting, and we're excited to talk about those additional features as we approach 2024. But before I move on, I really want to talk about a core principle of Strada, and this is really important. Strada is meant to be a complementary tool. So workflows are complicated, and we recognize and understands that creatives and companies anchor around core tools to define their workflow. So we really want individuals to understand that Strada is complementary. It's a bridge builder. It can be a layer above. It can be a step in advance, all towards bringing efficiency and optimization to the workflow that you currently use today. Before I pass it on to Michael, I want to stress again, we conceived of this idea 6 months ago. When we sat at this table, again to my right, we said, we need to start a business. And what does that business do? We brought on some teams, some individuals. Michael showed the list of the 10 people that we have on the team today. And we are so excited to show you Strada in action. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Michael.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, it really is this wooden table right here. We spend a lot of hours in. And while we have been doing a lot of slides, a lot of Instagram posts, a lot of YouTube, millions of frames, many, many hours, it's time to show the product for real. And I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish so far. So we're going to level set and start out with the foundation of Strada. So when we think about the foundation, we had to figure out what is something that's going to serve everyone. What are the things that bother me the most all the time? The things that are hard no matter what the size of your team. Teams that are big, teams that are small, budgets that are big, budgets that are small, or even different market segments like journalism, news, sports, narrative, nonfiction, houses of worship, education. All of these are different segments and different size teams. And we think there are 4 major problems that all of them have. And as Pete mentioned, we want to start with Media Accelerator as the beginning of Strada. And so the 4 things that we do, we call the 4 T's. And what they are is transfer, transcode, transcribe, and tag or analyze. And these 4 things are something everybody needs to do at some level. And we felt we could really make them better. And we think the cloud and AI together will enhance this experience. Now, this is not a picture of Strada. This is a foundation. What Strada is going to become is enormous. It's way bigger. Our 2-year roadmap is already kind of set. Our plans are really, really rigid for that. And we've got a lot that we need to do. But none of that will work without the right foundation. And that foundation is designed to bring you value right away so that you can start this bridge to the cloud process. Because companies out there are not necessarily helping bridge people. People make a cloud solution here or there. They make a tool here or there. But the overall problem is that we don't have a path. We don't have a road, a strata to actually get us to be exclusive in the cloud. One of our mission statements is to help creative people work exclusively in the cloud. We have to build that. So this is the 4 T's, and that's what this media acceleration category is today. That's what's going to come out in the private beta in January. So let's start with number 1. The first one is transfer. So what is the biggest problem I have with transfer? Well, there's a couple of problems with transfer. I think everyone will have experience with this. You have users and assets. When you're dealing with the cloud, you're identified through your email. And the problem is you don't have one email address. I don't have, nobody has, right? So we have different email addresses, and each of those are a different personality or persona that connects us to a cloud tool. Have you ever had to connect to different assets using different email addresses? Well, when you do, some email addresses give you access to some clouds, but not others, or some apps and not others. If you're like me, you've logged into something and you're not getting the right apps or the right filters or the right cloud access, you have to log out and switch your email. Tell me you know this, right? Like, write in the chat. Has this happened before? Is it annoying when you're like, which email do I use to get this? This is because there's legacy problems inside of tools that basically do not recognize who you are. They only recognize different email addresses. So when it's owned by the same person, the apps and the tools are unaware of it. The clouds don't know the difference. And so we said, let's fix that. Here's how we fix it. Strada lives in the center. And so when you log in, you can log in and you can apply different email personalities into your own Strada account. And then that will route all the relatable asset clouds back to you, which means you can access all your clouds regardless of which email you're signed in with. And that way you can control it, and you are you. And so it doesn't matter which email address you use. This should solve a lot of problems. It should expand the ability to search across clouds. Now, the architect of this is Austin Case, our cousin, and he came up with this concept. And so Austin, I want you to start with Strada. And we're going to go to Strada in production here, and take us through the experience of setting up an account, adding email addresses, and connecting a cloud.
That I can do. All right. So here I'm going to start with Strada where you all would start, at the login screen, right? And so I'm going to go in here, and the first thing you'll notice is that I can sign in with Google or Apple. So we have easy social sign-on authentication. So that's the first thing we do to make sure that it's easy for you to join the Strada program. When I land in here, the only thing I've set up is that I've given myself access to the private beta that's going to come out in January. Other than that, we're in a blank canvas here. And so I have my work account set up. But what Michael was talking about is that as creatives, we have to work on different projects, and we have different access to those. So when I actually tab over to Safari, I'm actually going to sign up with my personal account, my personal Apple ID. It'll pop up here for my fingerprint, as you can see, my Hotmail, my childhood Hotmail email. And when I land in, I'm actually not going to have access to Strada because I haven't added this account to the beta. But that's okay because I have another account that has access. And so I'm going to go to edit profile here, and you can see I have my connected emails. And so I'm going to add in my email here.
You're going to get a lot of love and hate mail.
Yeah, yep, that's okay.
We're building in public, so yeah, there's Austin's private email account.
Yep, there you go. It has a lot of junk in it anyway. But you can see it's pending there. If I tab over to my Safari, you'll see immediately it's saying, it's asking me to confirm this connection request. That way, I confirm that I made that request. I hit confirm. And when I land in the app, actually now you can see I have access to both my work and my personal account all in the same space. So I could actually go in here and rename this to personal, boom, and there we go. And now you can see that my account, I have work and personal, and I have access to both emails from the same account, and I can switch between them, but it's still separated, right? My work and my personal accounts still are separated. And I'll show you what that means when I start to add media into my account.
Can I log into Strada? Do I have to keep track of which account is my main account to log into Strada?
No, now you can log in with your personal or your work email, and both have access to the same accounts because you are you regardless. And that's totally secure, totally safe. but because it keeps them separate between your work and your personal accounts. And of course, you can always unlink them if something bothers you. Here, I'll go into here and I'll start connecting a drive, the main part of Strada. And here we have Dropbox, Frame.io, and Google Drive to add. And I'm going to start with Dropbox. So I go over here to Dropbox and blink and you miss it, because we'll come back to Strada and there Strada already is logged in, authenticated to Dropbox, and now I can view my assets. By default, Strada does not have access to any assets in your cloud storage. So you have to actually choose which root folders you want Strada to have access to. So here I'll select webinar, I'll hit allow access, and that quickly, if I go into my webinar folder, I can start to view and watch my media. Like, that was fast.
It's fast. And when we really believe, as Pete was talking about, this is a cooperative application. This is something where we believe in interoperability, and we don't really like when you're using a tool and you're restricted to just that cloud or just those assets or what's there. So are any of these clips in Strada?
No, these are viewing the data right off of Dropbox or any other cloud storage you're using.
So this is essentially the epitome of bring your own storage.
Exactly. It's bring your own storage that doesn't require an IT department. That was our main goal.
And is it going to cost me more because now I'm importing this Dropbox account? Now I'm watching.
Because we're not duplicating your data, Strada, when you connect your storage, that's actually free. And we promise will always be free.
That's great. So we can play it back a clip. And if you look closely, you're seeing a log asset because these are original camera files. So we're looking at the original camera files, and that just gives us a starting point. So what I want to do now is I want to invite Pete to come over, and we're gonna pause for a second and do a couple of questions that are specific about transfer, because we want to hear your questions. We know they're coming in. So Pete, let's address a couple questions.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for starting to add questions in the chat. That's been really great. One question is any options for SSO, Austin?
For SSO for enterprise, we do not have yet, but is imminently on the roadmap for our more enterprise level offerings.
Got it. Thank you. And will Strada be rolling out a cloud-based system as well?
So it's a good question. Today, Strada's objective is not to be a cloud. It is to utilize other clouds. The reason for this is you're already paying for a cloud subscription. I love whoever wrote that question because it sounds like you're willing to pay me money to have another cloud subscription. I don't want you to have to do that because you already are paying for some cloud storage. So we're not ruling that out. But today, the objective is to bring your own storage. As Austin mentioned, none of these assets are in Strada. Instead, they're actually in the cloud you already pay for. And today, we're starting with Dropbox, Google Drive, and Frame.io, and we'll be adding more clouds that are very popular that people use.
Great. Someone also asked, are we planning on making Strada able to connect to company NASs and private servers?
Actually, we were just talking about how we were going to do that deployment this week. And we don't have a lot of details to share because it's actually a really complicated process. But we will hopefully in 2024 have something to show you of where we can connect to your NASs and private servers.
And someone actually said, this is not a question, but a statement. We need one more T, trim, or EDL picture lock.
Good thing it's on the list for January 29th.
January 29th, we'll start with what we call simple edit, which is trimming. And what we will then deploy on top of that is EDL and XML-based trimming so that you can go to the original assets, pull them, trim them, debayer them, and take raw files and actually debayer, trim, and transcode and transfer and transcribe and tantalize. So all those things will happen. I love adding trim as a 50 sold. All right. So,
and this question came up, we've answered it, but I think it's worth reinforcing again. Which storage solutions are compatible with Strada? And with the smile emoji, probably Frame.io. So
yes,
we love Frame.io. It's the best review tool and has the best. And we're users of it every single day. And we think a lot of people also are users of it. But Frame.io, as well as
Dropbox and Google Drive are the ones we support today. But we want to know which ones you want to see, because actually the way we design the system is that there's not a lot to add a new storage provider. And so we can add one relatively quickly. There's a lot of edges and things we need to check out. So just let us know which ones you want to see and we'll prioritize them and add as many as we can.
All right. We're going to move on to the next T, number two, which is the next problem, which is transcoding. This is one of those worlds where, like you, I hope it's an experience you've had. Actually, I don't hope, but I'm sure you have. And it's waiting for blue render bars to cross across the screen while you're transcoding and waiting for all that time to transcode. It's really a big problem. So this is the problem with transcoding. When you think about transcoding, you think you have a raw file, and then you're going to turn it into something else, like some MOV, a ProRes file, or even a H.264. The problem with this is it's never one transcode. One is never good enough, because what really happens is you're like, well, I need to transcode it to several formats. Some of these have a LUT, some of these don't. Some of these have window burn, some of them don't. Some have watermarks, some of them don't. And so you have to make all these versions: high, medium, low, color, overlays, things like that. So this is the first problem with transcode, is we might have to transcode it over and over and over.
Yep.
Then the next level of transcode is we have to go and add audio. We have metadata sidecars like LUTs and SRT files, CDLs, XMLs.
Yeah.
So now there's another layer of metadata that might need these integrated into a transcode. And then what about this? How about another dimension of B camera, C camera, E camera, or
crazy.
BTS video, BTS stills, and VFX metadata like the XYZ and
the geospatial data.
Spatial data, right? So all of a sudden, when you look at all these, maybe a few of you watching this are really smart and you can knock this list down to like 3 or 4 transcodes. But many of us either have to do them all one at a time, or we just don't do them at all.
And if you screw it up, you have to retry again, right?
You do it again. And so we think there's a better way to do this. And so the problem that we think has been happening with transcode is we've been thinking about the architecture behind transcoding as a linear process in 2 dimensions, where we just say an asset here, and they go together. But at Strada, we have something different. Wouldn't it be great if we could work in 3-dimensional space? And what if we could transcode and compute in 3D? And what we do is we take all these assets and we create a Strada stack, a multi-dimensional stack that creates virtualized files that allows us to basically do all these transcodes either all at once or never need to do them at all in some cases.
In some cases.
So, Austin, take us a little bit through the architecture behind Strada stacks.
Yeah, so Strada stacks, the most important thing to note is that it's a virtual file. It doesn't actually exist. And it's one of the advantages of the cloud, is the cloud doesn't need file systems like your computer does. It works on what's called objects. So that's great. So virtual files, when you create a stack, it's not actually going to move your media. Your media stays where it is. You can create a stack even across clouds. For instance, if the audio person on set records their stuff and uploads them to their cloud and then the video goes up, well, usually that's a problem. Well, actually in Strada, because you can connect multiple clouds and you can make stacks across multiple clouds, you can combine assets into a stack, and then you can have synced audio and video across clouds.
Very cool. So let's actually do it in Strada.
Okay, let's do it in Strada. Okay, so here I'm in the same directory that I showed you earlier, and normally people shoot with timecode. And so when you have timecode, the stacks will automatically create themselves in certain cases. But for this demo, I'm going to just do one asset to show you how easy it is to make a manual stack. Add to stack. And as you can see here, if I go over to the right, my media stack is now building, and I've just combined my video and audio files together so that we know they're always related. And you can even see in the grid here, when I select my media, it even knows that I'm selecting the stack of them together. And so I can take this file and I can actually combine that shot with that audio. And you can see as I switch between them, it automatically is switching and saying, these 2 are related together. And you probably want to view them together. A stack is a moment in time, right? A stack, when you have a timeline, when you're making something, a timeline is non-linear, right? Like that's the point. A stack is actually meant to be linear representations of time, right? You're putting this whole video with this whole audio with this whole B cam in the same moments of time.
And what we think about, it sounds obvious, and this is why we did picture and sound, because it's the most practical version of a stack that everyone can wrap their head around. But what happens if I have time code based objects that happen in the same time, like a BTS videographer or BTS stills? Can I include them in the stack?
You can totally include those in the stack. And so they will be virtualized and linked and related together until you remove them. And in case you make a mistake, let's say I go to this asset and I'm like, oh, those 2 assets actually don't belong together. It's as simple as clicking the X.
So what that means is if you're searching for a scene, and you had the actual photo of behind the scenes, you can now find the video. And if you find the video, you can find the audio, but you didn't have to put them in a folder together.
Totally.
You don't have to be so limited in this two-dimensional world where we drag copies, we make copies, we make duplicates, and we organize them. Instead, the stack allows you to work three-dimensionally. We can use a visual effects sheet or an EDL and tie that back to BTS, tie that to sound.
Totally. Whenever you make a transcode, actually, we make what's called a derivative asset. And that asset is a collection of separate audio and video, and they're always related. So you can always know where did the original files that this asset I'm working with came from.
Very good. So we'll pause here right now, and we'll bring Pete back up, and we'll bring up some questions about transcoding in the stacks process. Did we get any results there?
So first of all, I want to thank those who added additional storage options in the chat. We're taking notes, so that really helps us, again, on our product roadmap. So one question came up, will Strada be able to play back R3D files, or will it need to generate a quick proxy for playback?
So if the cloud storage you offer provides R3D debearing, then we can play it back directly off of that. But if it doesn't, we have your back. So we will actually pull that file in, we'll debear and transcode it, and we will store a proxy on Strada's systems for you for those raw files.
Great. And more broadly, it's a similar question. Does it play all major codecs, even if Dropbox, for example, doesn't play on its website? Yep. Will it play on Strada?
Exactly. Playing back off of the other clouds is just a way to make sure that we're not duplicating storage or saving you money. But if it's not supported for playback, Strada is going to actually bring that file in. We will make a web-friendly transcode, and we will always make sure that we can serve you whatever video format, every major video format to you.
That means if you have a cloud and it isn't compatible with certain formats, that doesn't matter.
No.
Strada will enable or enhance and basically improve the feature set of any cloud just by connecting it into the Strada platform.
Yep.
And with that, how do you mitigate streaming latency? So you talked about caching a little bit. So how do we solve that?
Well, when you go click play on YouTube, there's not streaming latency, right? So I think that's kind of the similar thing. Strada today is not an editing platform. I think when you're editing is where you really see those like millisecond latencies really matter. And today, Strada is not attempting to be a nonlinear editor in the cloud. That is not what we are attempting to be at this moment in time.
Yeah, in this case, again, we're doing media acceleration. So we're getting your stuff ready for dailies, ready for cutting, podcasts, photos, video. We're trying to get it to the cutting room faster, better, easier.
And I'll give you one final question. In the transcode, can you add a show while transcoding?
Should we show that? Let's come back to that in just a second. That's a great question, great transition. Thanks, Pete. All right, let's keep going because the next section is transcribe. And transcribe is really exciting because transcription has been changing a lot. Over the last 2 years, like it's exploded.
Yeah, it's so good now.
And like everybody's using it in all these cool ways. But I think that video editors are still lagging behind in being able to truly take advantage of transcoding.
I agree.
So let's talk about how this works. First of all, we understand captions. Everybody knows captions. There's a lot of tools to do that. They do a good job, and captions is great. But captions is mostly deployed on nonfiction interviews, long form stuff. But we had a better idea. What if we could take captions and push it even further and give it some new horsepower? And so what about scripts? Most of the time, narrative productions don't do captions. It's very rare to use it. And it doesn't seem to be that useful because why do I need captions if I have a script? But see, if we can do captions for narrative content, that means any language or any line that's spoken in the script now becomes automatically searchable and discoverable. So instead of having to remember what scene something is, you can just describe what the person says in it, and it'll bring that scene up for you. And remember, by attaching the scene of language in a narrative to the word spoken, you can actually connect that in a stack to a photographer's BTS still.
Yes.
If someone says the word freeze, you'll get the photographer's photo during that section.
Yep.
And that's an powerful thing that we can do. And then the third one is timing. This came up, this was brought up by our lead designer, Neil Ishibashi. And Neil came up with something really clever. And that is story editors and producers and writers sometimes need to look at things in timing space. So what I'm going to do is switch to a demo of Strada. Now, this is not in production. This is a prototype because we have only prototyped transcription, where Austin is showing the product as it is today. This is a prototype. So this isn't there. That's why we're on my computer now. So what I want to show you is if you look here, you can see that our transcription of the scene, this is Angie Palermo, and she's doing some acting for us. And we have 3 different choices for transcription. Caption is the most common, right? You have a caption. You've seen that. We do that. What's better about Strada than other tools? You don't need a nonlinear editor to get it. You don't need to know how to do it. There's no button for this. All transcriptions of all assets are done totally automatically, totally in the background, and at thousands and thousands of frames per second. So it doesn't take long. When you connect your cloud, it'll start transcribing everything and making our database so you can search by it. So you don't have to learn how to do it. You don't have to know any buttons. There's no buttons to click. But that's traditional captions. But then we could go to speaker. Speaker is understanding who is speaking and when they're speaking. And now it breaks down the story by when they're actually talking. So you automatically get a picture of who's speaking. And this is more applicable for narrative storytelling.
And if you actually start to label your speakers, it'll remember who they are. And so that you can actually search by the person's name. But the first one, you have to tell us who they are.
That's right. And then the third one, and I think the most interesting for people that are story editors or story producers or writers, is time. What time does is it breaks down the amount of transcription by how long you want the language to be. So let's say you're looking for a 10-second bite.
For like Instagram Reels or something.
Right. What I can do is set the time to 10 seconds, and it will now orient the text to be 10 seconds. And if I go to 1 minute, it'll reorient the text to 1 minute. So it's the same transcription, but it changes how long that transcription is visible. And we think this could be a really powerful tool. We're looking for your feedback, though. If you think that's like totally unusable, let us know. But if you say, wait, if I could see how long a script is and I could find things faster, we want to know that and see if that helps people. So this is just the beginning of how we can take transcription to the next level, because we really want to solve that world with transcription. So it's really important to us to just get it at the very tip top, automated transcriptions and broken down, so you don't need to bring it into an editor just to get a transcription.
Exactly.
That also means you can take a picture, you can take sound, you can take transcription and see it all in Strada, and none of this is baked in to a new asset.
All virtual.
So now let's get into tagging. Tagging is also the next T, and it's really, really important because we believe that there's a way to analyze assets and tag them. Well, there's 3 kind of ways here. So this is the first problem with tagging. I don't like how tagging works most of the time because it's asking someone to tag it for you. Saying,
that's no good.
Like, oh, can you tag all this for me?
Nobody has time for that.
Nobody has time for that. And that means it doesn't get done well. If you're one of the few people that actually has someone logging and tagging assets manually,
good for you.
Congratulations. That's amazing. But the rest of us suckers have to just like do it ourselves, or we just don't do it at all. So I don't think the traditional manual tag works at all. Now, the second one is people say, well, let's get a media asset manager. Here's the problem with media asset managers. The architectural structure of media asset managers is designed to make things rigid, to organize things in a rigid way and get your whole teams to start following rigid organization processes. This is the architectural way. And the other problem with MAMs is that they're designed for metadata, like clip name and time code, duration or archiving elements. They don't include moods and feelings and object detection. So this is a big problem. And this is what I really think is architecturally wrong with the MAM community. They are building their technologies to be focused on deploying organized teams so that organized teams follow specific rules so that you can find them. What we've done is we think that doesn't make sense because creative people are the least organized people. They're messy. They like to just make a mess. And your desktop, when you're in the creative process, your tools, your floor is a mess when you're creating. And so the last thing you want to do is be bound to a rigid organization structure just so you can find things.
Totally.
So the architectural approach that we took with tag, analyze, or tanalyze is
be messy.
Be messy. What if we could build a way to search things and not require you to be organized and rigid at the same time? Because we think those are at odds with each other.
That's creative first.
That's creative first. And so that's why we use AI to automatically tag everything. No buttons, no requirements, no requests. It just automatically does object detection, finds things, and then it allows them to be deployed and searchable. Here's how that works. I am going to show you an example here. This is Angie again. What is she doing? It's a woman in a kitchen. She's cooking. She's got a knife. She's got a cutting board, and she's on the chopping block. This is how I would describe this image if I had to describe it to somebody.
Yep.
Well, what I'm going to show you is actually the AI analytics within Strada.
Yep.
This is 95% confidence when it analyzed this image. It gave me woman, kitchen, knife, food, cooking, chopping board. And so now all of these are automatically applied to all of your footage if they're going to have a 95% confidence rate or more. So Austin, this is cool because it can automatically tag that. But what if I was looking for something specific to tag?
If you're looking for something specific to tag, you can actually, in Strada, you can say, I'm looking for this specific element, and you can actually choose a specific model to find and tag that element. And so if you're shooting, let's say a sport, for instance, that has very specific tags like dunk or layup. And you can actually choose a basketball model for basketball tags because Strada will eventually have an AI marketplace.
I see actually on the question there, what about Clapper? And the answer is yes. The Clapper board received a 95% or higher, and we have Clapper board or Slate, and it does detect that as an independent resource. So this is a really cool example of how we're starting to make analytics work. And even like if you said we need to find all the logos, and we can use Strada to automatically define all the logos. Here's the logo I want to keep, and I want you to paint out all the others using an AI outpainting solution. These are the types of workflows that get unlocked with Tanalyze, this tag analyze. It's going to help everybody. Okay. So then what I want to do is, are there any analytics questions that we should do, Pete, that we can bring in to that?
Well, there were definitely some plus ones on the slate. So thank you for answering that one. So we actually have some questions on the transcription side, which we skipped. But one question was, what languages will be supported on the transcription side?
I think we have 100. I want to say it's the model we're using supports over 100 languages. And so we'll also support any language to any language that we support, so infinite direction. So
and just to add to that, I think what's really important here is we really want to lean into the core competencies of partner software developers. In the AI space, transcription and translation is an explosive market. And so for us, when we think about our core competency, where we focus, we really want to leverage the expertise of third parties who are innovating every day on the transcription space and the translation space in order to make integrations that allow the transcription within Strada to be best in class from any developer in the world.
Let's do one more.
Yeah, we need transcription on a shot-by-shot basis. Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it's working now. It'd be shot by shot basis. Absolutely. You'll get that for free. Cool. So let's move on to our last section of this, which is the batch transcoding. And so one of the things that's important about batch transcoding is we're going to show how to now create a file. And Austin, I'd like to go back to your Strada account. We talked about LUTs. We talked about syncing sound, which applying LUTs in the cloud, pretty hard and rare to do. Syncing audio automatically in the cloud, pretty hard and rare to do. And then we want to deliver it to a new cloud, because what if we're in Dropbox, but we want to deliver it and our client uses another cloud solution?
So just like I added Dropbox before, I'm actually going to go and add Frame.io, because that's where we want to deliver this new render asset that we're going to make to. And just like connecting Dropbox, Frame.io is no different. I enter my username and password, fingerprint authentication, click allow. And when it takes me back to Strada, again, I will see the root folders that I want to allow Strada to have access to. Here, I'm going to select our Strada engineering account. And I want to just pause here. We now have connected two different clouds. And so they're just views on top of these clouds inside of Strada. And so I can view my Dropbox assets right next to my Frame.io assets. And I can actually add even more. I can add two Dropboxes, two Frame.ios, whatever configuration.
Can I search across both clouds at the same time?
Search across both clouds at the same time.
So what you're telling me is, what if my audio person uploaded the sound to Dropbox and the video person uploaded their audio to Google Cloud or Frame.io?
That's totally fine. You can just make the stack across the clouds and you can watch them in sync in Strada even without creating a render.
And see, if you think about what our behavior has been up until now, is that all these assets, regardless who the owner or capturer of these assets is, they have to get them to one person.
Yeah.
But if you stop thinking about centralization because the cloud is decentralized, it means everyone can just put it in whatever cloud they want, wherever they are. And the person responsible for assembling them either doesn't need to receive it all, or in some cases with Strada, there is no person to receive them. There's only people to consume them. Because Strada's going to do that together. So let's do some assemblies here now.
Okay, so here in my webinar folder, I have my stack that I had previously made, and you can see they're still stacked here. But I'm actually now have my destination. Now that I connected my Frame.io cloud, I can now send this to my Frame.io webinar dailies folder. And so then what I can hit export, but before I do that, I can choose ProRes, 1080, 4K, low, medium, high. So I get some settings to choose from before I do the export. And Strada actually supports LUT libraries. So we actually loaded our show LUT, which is a LUT you've used for many, many years, right? From your light iron days. And so we actually loaded our show LUT into the Strada LUT library. And so you can take advantage of that. And this file will actually apply that LUT when it delivers it to Frame.io. So I'm going to kick off that job right now. And there, it should be on
and now,
Frame.io.
When the job's rendering, is Strada locked out? Is it going to slow down?
No, Strada doesn't slow down because it's happening asynchronous in the cloud on a totally separate machine. So the machine I have using here for the show, it isn't impacted at all.
So let's look at my computer because we want to demonstrate how Strada is actually doing this. See, when you're normally transcoding, let's say you have 6 takes, 6 clips here. What we've been doing for all these years is we take these 6 takes, we string them out, and then we render them one at a time. Even when your computers are fast, you can render them at high frames per second. You still render 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clips. But with Strada, what we're doing instead is we're deploying this and we're able to say, well, we can submit the job into a cloud cluster. And now I can send all 6 takes to one computer each, and they can process at the same time. So what that means is you could be a team of 1, a team of 2, a team of 3, but you can have the infrastructure of 50 computers. And you're not going to pay for that when you don't use it. If you build a cluster to improve your rendering, you have to own that and manage it and maintain it. But in Strada, you only use it when you use it. And then you don't.
It costs no more for us to parallelize the action than to run them sequentially. So if this sounds like it's going to get expensive, it really won't.
So what I want to do is I want to now show here a great example. We talked about Frame.io. Frame.io has a great integration with Premiere Pro. Frame.io is a tool that we use every single day. And what we have here is you can see I am logged into the webinar, so I can see the Strada Engineering webinar account. I'm using the Frame.io integration inside Premiere Pro. From inside here, I can go to dailies and I can grab this clip and I can import it and I'll pull in the asset. This is now the LUTted asset that Austin rendered. And I have to download it because the Frame.io Premiere Pro integration today requires you to import and download. But what I'm doing is I'm now playing back with audio. So we have the sound here. We've got Chuck whacking the slate.
LUT applied.
And LUT applied. And now we have the asset of Angie that we've been looking at earlier today. And we're able to do that. So this was auto-synced, auto-colored, and transcoded, transcribed, and analyzed.
And the audio will trim to the length of the video.
Right, because if I want to bring in analytics here, what we can see is Strada can produce an XML so that you can import that. Now, I know in the description tab here, you've seen descriptions here, but this was all done automatically by AI. If I search woman here, we're going to get the takes that are listed there. And then if I say search chopping block, we're going to get the one take that we know the chopping block is mentioned here. So all of this becomes automatic. If I search kitchen, I'll get all the kitchen shots, and you can see that. If I search fear, we see the shot that says fear, because we are also going to be analyzing emotion. And so we can detect emotions. So you can look at that. All of this is part of that analyze, that tag analyze process where we deliver XMLs so that we can import the results of the analytics pass into an NLE or a DAW for your workflows. Cool. All right. So do we have, let's bring Pete back one more time. We're almost there. Do we have any batch transcode questions?
So one question that was asked, do you, on the transcoding side, do you host the compute or do you let customers bring their own transcode services to do this type of batch transcoding?
Currently, today, we host all services. No media ever leaves the Strada platform. We do that for security purposes. When in the future, when we have an enterprise offering, we could potentially open up for you to do your, you could run the Strada infrastructure self-hosted as well.
Got it. And this is actually a Tanalyze question, the tag and analyze. Will Strada allow people to integrate LLMs so that they can search transcriptions for certain topics or moods or moments without knowing the exact wording? This is really important in the documentary space.
This is a really good question because you're actually asking two questions. The answer to that is yes. But the reason it's yes is how are we doing that? See, the marketplace of Strada, which is going to be part of our 2024 deployment, allows people to build custom models for specific uses. And so you just need to find the model that does exactly that. And there'll be multiple people building those models. This is what I was saying at the beginning about utility AI. AI that helps you. It doesn't generate content. Like none of us in the real world need help generating content. That's what we do for a living. But what we want to do is find it faster and easier, discover that stuff. And so, yes, there will be multiple models that do that. And then you can decide which one works best for you.
And a question that came up on the transcoding side, our friend Jordan Maltby put in this question. But
hey, Jordan.
He asked, from a transcode perspective, are you considering a full dailies tool, like for slip sync, add scene, and take metadata and then transcoding? And I think, you know, the answer for us is we want to make the process as easy as possible. And so we have to find that right balance between capability and features versus the ease of use. When I started earlier today, I talked a lot about this idea of tools getting extra complex and analysis paralysis. So we want to find that right balance. So yes, we are building a dailies tool, but there is a feature set that we are targeting to make sure it has mass appeal, and we're really trying to prioritize ease of use versus being able to do everything
and automation.
All
right, so we're going to get to the very last part here. We're almost out of time. So the very last part here is I just want to do a summary of what we just saw. I have not had the pleasure of looking at all the comments. I'm hoping they're positive because there's a lot on the line, I'll be honest. But we think we've been after this because I think as someone who has worked on over 150 feature films, I've been the architect of hundreds of projects, thousands of episodes of episodic television. And I am really trying to build something that I would use, that would help me in my experience. So this is what we just went over. First, transfer. You can connect to third-party clouds. You can transfer from cloud to cloud. You can add multiple user profiles and invite other users across that. Yep. In fact, you could have 3 people that all use Dropbox and combine 3 Dropbox clouds into one project, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Okay. Second is transcribe. It's automatically syncing to video. It's automatically happening on every asset. You don't have to train anyone how to set the transcriptions up. It includes translation and it supports exports to NLEs and DAWs so that you can get that inside with the tagging, which is the next section. Tagging is applied to every asset. It's virtual files so that it's the Strada stack layers and that we can search across every cloud. And it also supports the transform into NLEs and DAWs. And then lastly, transcode. We want to convert files, videos and stills and audio. We will debayer. We apply LUTs, which you saw working today. We sync the audio to video automatically. Jordan, we do allow slipping. So you can slip in Strada if you're off and your time code's not jammed or something like that. And then what we call simple edit, which is our first step to just like simple trims. What else is in simple edit?
Reframe. Yeah. So if you have a 16:9 and you need to go to 9:16 for social or something like that, you can do that right in Strada without having to download the asset and then re-upload it again.
Cool. So these are the 4 T's, and we're going to add that 5th one, which is trim. Right. Okay. So I'll just do that real quick. We'll just do trim. Okay. Trim is going to be there. Thanks whoever gave that. That's going to be the 5th T. So it's a little sloppy, but there's our update right there. So 5 T's right there. So Pete, come back. We basically got last couple things here. One if you want to see value and you feel you can be valuable to the earliest versions of Strada, we are looking for people to be part of the private beta. You have to sign up at strada.tech, and then you have to let us know who you are, that you want to be part of the private beta, because we're looking for early adopters who can bleed a little bit. You got to have a high pain tolerance. And I know some of you are out there. So let us know if you have the right job or project. We're targeting that for the end of January to be the release of the private beta. Also, we're hiring. I mentioned at the beginning, we love building teams. Teams are so important, and there are job descriptions available. Let's make sure those are up. And we are, looking for talent. We need talent. We're growing really fast. And as I mentioned, the way that this guy helped build the architecture as well as his team, the features in Strada are going to be coming out week after week after week. You will not have to wait another 6 months for the next exciting release of Strada.
No.
Because this thing is going to explode because of the architectural foundation that we built. I think you can learn a lot about it in Build in Public on YouTube. But we basically made this so fast that you're going to see features come out every single week pretty soon.
Exactly. Our goal is to architect it in a way that we can just add features to our existing infrastructure concepts. So we hope to deliver every single week. And I think we need a release day of the week. I think we should start.
We might start doing that. So we're going to need help from everybody to make that possible. So we want to say thank you so much for everything that you provided us this morning. I want to thank the crew for being able to support us, Amritha and Chuck helping us with that, everybody making this possible. We are just really excited about what this brings. This is a big load of relief, a lot of great experiential feelings for us after 6 months of building this thing. I've been wanting to do this demo and show it to you for so long, and we hope that this is something that you're interested in doing. So we look forward to talking with you. We'll see you in the cloud. Bye, everyone.